That's it, my friends. The news we have all been waiting for has finally been confirmed, as we have reached an official agreement to sign Joao Felix. Today, I'll be discussing all the latest news surrounding this big story, as well as giving finally my thoughts and opinions on this move. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you guys are gassed and excited to see Joao Felix return back to the club, hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions, and my friends, let's get straight into things. So right now, let's tackle all the latest news surrounding this breaking story, as the final agreement today has come in for Joao Felix. He is set to sign a 6-year deal with a 1-year extension included, but in terms of the final price we're paying, we still don't have concrete information. The best guess we have at the moment came from a Spanish journalist 2 days ago, and he quoted the final fee would be around 50 million euros plus 5 million in add-ons. In England, we've been hearing a variety of different prices, going from 34 million plus add-ons, 38 million pounds plus add-ons, and today reports suggesting would be 40 million plus with an additional add-ons included for this deal. And in my opinion, I think it may be a lot closer to 50 mil euros plus 5 million in add-ons, because 50 mil euros is around 42 million pounds. Add-ons of another 4 million would take the deal to around 46 million pounds, and I think that is a very fair price for Felix, considering that last year Atletico quoting us figures for double the price. They were quoting us for around 80 to 85 million pounds to sign Felix, so we're signing him for half the price. As I kept stressing, Atleti must amortize the value of Felix's deal, and to do that, they have to earn around a minimum of 45 million euros. So it does make sense considering his long contract length, with his deal expiring with Atleti like in 2029, 2030. We'd have to pay a little extra on top to get this deal over the line. But it's all over, my friends. It's complete. Joao Felix is set to sign for us. As we know, he has accepted to take reduced wages. He is excited to return back here. He didn't want to leave us the first time when he signed for us on loan. And with Felix now set to arrive here, he'll be traveling here soon to complete his medical. The club have now allowed Conor Gallagher to take his flight to Madrid to complete his 42 million euro move to Atletico Madrid. So everything has worked out in the end. There was a deadline placed on Wednesday, so we had to see something concrete that was finalized, preferably today, right? And I think to myself, after yesterday's disappointing defeat to Man City, a little bit of transfer dopamine right now to kind of raise the spirits of the fans, because nothing raises the spirits of the fans these days, unlike transfers. Then I think the timing is probably coming at the best moment. So the finances seem all right. The talent and potential in Felix seems all right. This is a great deal. This is great business. I think this is the perfect time now for me to end this video by discussing my full thoughts and opinions on Joao Felix. There are going to be multiple angles I discuss Felix with. There is the fan part of me. The fan part of me that only cares for entertainers, that doesn't care for tactics, systems, balance. Give me a top baller, a top quality, skillful flair player. Let him have fun on that field, and I'm telling you, no matter what the results are saying, that fan part of me won't care as long as I'm being entertained by a genius. I think Joao Felix, he has that touch of genius in his game that he hasn't been able to fully unlock, fully master. And I've always felt to myself, with players like this, players that can kind of execute kind of every technique, every action. Anytime he's on the ball running at someone, there's probably like 3 or 4 different skill moves he could pull off right then and there to get past this man. And I've always felt Felix's issue is that because he hasn't been able to maybe master and curate his instincts, his ability, it creates this mental indecision. And I think a lot of his weaknesses are mainly mental ones. You know, I think this is why when he has great form behind him, the confidence, that run of form, that can help overcome those mental defects, in my opinion, that can at times maybe reduce the potential and the talents that he definitely has. Right now for Felix, this is his final remontada. This is his final moment now to make something of his career, because he isn't seen as just like a good player. He was seen as someone that was a guarantee to be challenging for Ballon d'Ors. He left Benfica for ridiculous money. Big clubs like us, Barcelona, we all bought into that hype and promise, hence why he's only been failing upwards since he's been recently struggling with Atletico Madrid. So coming back to us, leaving on a permanent, now that he has longevity behind him now that he has a structured environment he can work in. This is Felix's moment right now to show the world and show himself that yes, I can be one of the best players in the world. He's 24 years old. Fingers crossed, he's a little bit of a late developer, a late bloomer, and maybe if he's playing in a more possession-heavy system that could accommodate him for his risk-taking, you know, with the defending, the pressing, the structure of the team, the combinations he has to link up with. Fingers crossed, this environment right now could be key to unlock what Joao Felix can do, because let's not forget, that debut against Fulham, he was absolutely on fire, and I kind of feel like with the Premier League's end-to-endness at times, I think players like this can find themselves here, especially players that come from La Liga. I feel like they really transition to life really quickly in the Premier League. They don't need any time at all. So that fan part of me that loves his ballers, his entertainers, that fan part has a bit of hope and promise that something can come from this move. I don't know why I'm closing my eyes. I'm really letting you guys know, I'm really praying that there is success behind this, because now I have to discuss the other side, the other perspective. And that perspective is he necessarily the profile of player that we actually need? Pochettino decided against Felix last season because he thought he already had Nkunku. He had Chukwuemeka, he had other options he was happy to work with. And he felt like Felix in the team would have maybe caused some balancing issues. And when you're a new manager coming here where you don't really have much time to really cement yourself and your ways, you don't want to waste time with fluff that you can't really make sense of. And now, 12 months later, we're creating this situation where we're bringing in Joao Felix whilst also having Nkunku and Cole Palmer as well. In terms of our attack, it's a balance of attacking mid-style players. We're not really committing to either one right now. Against Man City, in our 2-0 defeat, we saw Maresca use Nkunku wide left, Cole Palmer wide right, and they were pretty ineffectual at times whenever they weren't allowed to play in more interior lanes and positions, whenever they weren't allowed to have more freedom to roam infield. Once Nkunku was able to do that more during the end of the first half and the start of the second half, a lot of our best moments actually came through him. Cole Palmer, second half in particular, when Gusto was holding the width even more, he had a bit more license to roam infield. And you think to yourself, they're the type of players that you want to see connecting and playing closer now to the striker up front. But by doing that, it does create balancing issues, because could you necessarily afford to accommodate both Enzo and Caicedo together in the base of your midfield if you now have Felix and Nkunku, or Felix and Palmer playing in front of that midfield too? Because if you do that, they need to run, they need to press, they need to put that work in. And unless we have a master plan to make Joao Felix run and press and put in the intensity like we have never seen before in this guy's entire career as a football player, I think to myself, how often are we going to expect to see Felix's, Neto's, and Nkunku's and Palmer's adorning the first team together? It seems like that will be like the get out of jail free card. If we're like behind in the game, we got 10, 20 minutes left to force something. That's like the desperation mode that I could only really see these guys playing together in. But outside of that, is he the profile that we necessarily need? Now, recently, Felix has been playing more of his games on the wide left. At Barca last season, he played most of his games in those positions. But at times, he did kind of flounder, even though he showed his promise as this guy always does, because he wasn't necessarily the guy that can eat the yards up, carry a team up the field with his pure pace, and be able to run towards the byline like sometimes you need when you have width, when you have wingers in these areas. He isn't necessarily that player. If Felix was on the wide left, he has to roam in. But then who then holds that left position? On paper, could Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall be this answer tactically that makes sense of things as he drifts wide? Who knows? Could Cucurella be afforded more license to push forward a bit more, because he didn't really underlap as much as I hoped he would against Man City yesterday, but maybe that's just the opposition we're playing against, and that is Man City. So maybe you do things a little bit differently. I feel like there are question marks around the use and utility of this player. I don't think there's question marks around his skill set or potential. I think that's definitely there. But there's question marks in regards to how Maresca may look to introduce him whilst finding that balance as well. Enzo did his best playing a more advanced attacking mid. I wouldn't really call it a 10 position, and I'll discuss that in greater detail in tomorrow's 5 Things We Learned video. I've got no time to release it today, sadly, but I think to myself, okay, ideally you'd want to have a Felix or Nkunku in those areas, but as I keep stressing, where does that defensive balance come from? Is that going to be Lavia, Caicedo together in the team making things happen? If that's the case, I need to see Caicedo be the general of the team, the enforcer, the bully, someone that is going to win those 50-50s, those key duels, which I see inconsistencies in when Caicedo's playing this way. That's why Gallagher was so key last season, because he was the most reliable defensive player. And by having that reliability, both Enzo and Caicedo at times during last season excelled, and they had Gallagher next to them, which I find really ironic. I feel like this transfer opens up a lot more questions than I think a lot of us want to have right now. It's not like back in the day, like during famous transfer windows, like when we signed Fabregas, Costa, even guys like Hazard back then. Because when we signed them, there were roles and positions that we needed in our teams at the time, and we signed those specific players for those needs, and we signed the very best we could get. And look at the results and success we got from a more focused transfer window like that. Felix is an enigma in this sense. I think he's an enigma that could make sense in time, but I'm really curious to see how Maresca will find the right systems in place to get the best out of him, whilst also addressing the need for balance in the team. Because as I said earlier, Palmer and Nkunku out wide, they did nothing off the ball, and Man City were tearing us apart in those wide areas. Now you want to add Felix there, who could possibly take up one of those wide positions. It's a lot, right? So right now, I really am in a place of two minds. One hand, I'm here for this, I'm excited to see what happens, but on the other hand, the rational part of me feels like maybe this move was not as focused or needed, and it does contradict this notion that when we make signings, there's like strong data that really supports and back things, because it does feel this is more like an opportunistic move compared to what is left and available in the market right now. Unless something comes out to suggest that Felix is a dream guy we still want us to sign. But I feel like we're kind of recreating these squad conditions, which I thought we were moving away from, a more focused squad that is built in purpose for a particular way of playing. Maybe we'll look back at this at the end of the season, I'm completely wrong, and to be honest, I'll be happy with that. But these are some of the questions on my mind. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about this move, really. If you're excited, let us know why. And if you're a bit apprehensive, give us some reasons as to why you're feeling this way. Hopefully Felix comes in and does something. I would say, to end things on an optimistic, positive note, he has had a pretty solid, pretty good pre-season with Atletico Madrid, not only in matches, but also in training, with many reports publicly revealing that Simeone has been impressed with what Felix has been doing. I think there's this new energy to Felix where this move to us now is a big bonus that came from nowhere, but I think he was getting ready to recontinue life with Atletico Madrid, and his whole focus, demeanor and energy has shown a lot of positivity in that sense. So let's see what type of Felix we are set to get when he arrives here, and let's see how Joao Felix will be played and used as well. So my friends, that's all the latest news. Share your thoughts and opinions. I'm EFC, this is BlueLionsTV. See you all soon. Cool.